And it stifles creativity in the market and in society at large.
I think innovation is well rewarded in our society. I just don't feel like the reward should be millionfold and to the detriment of the workers whose surplus value is exploited.
You shouldn't punish people for their success.
Nor reward them for luck. Not to the tune of billions.
Is it not the market that decides the value of an idea?
It's the labor that allows the idea to be more than just a brainchild. The market follows its own trends based on what the already wealthy decide about it, not the toiling masses.
And yet the masses will pay into it.
Because society is subsumed. There can be no truly ethical consumption.
Utopian ideals are themselves a failure of ethics, or education. Besides which, the Union is just as commercial as any other country.
We have to exist within a certain framework to even keep our heads above water. Now, we both know I didn't come here to argue politics. I came for information.
And I already explained to you, I couldn't tell you where that man is, even if I knew. And trust me when I say they don't tell me everything. Nor do I imagine are you told everything by your people, or, penguins.
Not sure how we got from that to arguing about taxes. I think you're just trying to deflect.
I'm trying to change the subject to something within my realm of knowledge. I don't understand why you're so obsessed with one subject.
He killed He's an assassin!
And you're willing to jeopardize our nation's relationship over that man?
Surely there's something we can give you that we could trade for him, right?
Beyond my scope, I'm afraid. If you want me to pass along a request.
Urgh! Never mind. I could see reasoning with you is pointless.
Oh, you were reasoning. Well, next time forewarn me. I was missing all the little subtleties.
Let's just drink and talk about the weather.
Such a pleasant bon mot. Cheers.
Hiya! Welcome to Ni Evolution. Welcome to Hikikomori Evolution. Welcome to Otaku Evolution. You know, there's some overlap in those terms. Otaku comes from a Japanese term meaning your house, and has come to mean an obsessive fan of something. In many circles, and largely outside Japan, otaku itself has become synonymous with fan of Japanese comics and animation. This is the definition I use to describe myself. The stereotypical vision of an otaku, but not an entirely exaggerated one, is that of a shut-in or hikikomori, whose obsession with manga and anime have absorbed them entirely. Most people tend to ignore the psychological stresses and depression that causes people to retreat into such a life, preferring to connect it directly to their obsession with certain media. And a NEET is a person not in education, employment, or training, which oftentimes shut-in otaku also describes. But one doesn't necessarily imply the other. It's just easier to engage in otaku behavior because of alienation from society via crippling social anxiety and depression. If it weren't Japanese comics and animation, it would just be something else, say model trains or trivia or whatever. Old-timey radios, maybe? Who knows what people are into? While I can probably be considered both a NEET, though I graduated from college, and a hikikomori, not every NEET is a hikikomori, some are rather sociable, and not every hikikomori is a NEET, some do work from home, which I guess this show is, but I haven't seen a dime as of yet. Contribute to my Patreon. Ah, yes, spending a few minutes outlining what a loser I am. Surely this makes for great anime reviewing. But what I really want to talk about is the 2009 anime TV series, Eden of the East. Eden of the East is, well, let's say it's a very post-9/11 anime. Yeah, It came out 8 years later. But the setting, plot, and tone all speak to a post-9/11 mindset just as much as it speaks to the social commentary on the perceived stagnation of post-economic bubble Japan, and in light of other social problems experienced by the country in recent times. In one way, it's the sort of boilerplate political/technological paranoia you'd get from director Kenji Kamiyama's mentor Mamoru Oshii, but on the other hand, it's more, let's say, varied in its outlook, though perhaps not as well structured as a Pat Labor the movie, or even Kamiyama's Ghost in the Shell standalone complex. It feels more experimental, and while the experiment doesn't always get great results, it feels like it was working through ideas that could give rise to better anime in the future. The premise is that a man named Akira Takizawa, who has lost most of his memory, appears naked next to the White House, possessing only a gun and a strange phone. The phone connects directly to a computerized concierge, who he can request nearly anything from, except he can't remember how he got it or what's behind it all. Apparently, he and 11 others have been chosen as Selasau, people who've been given a sum of 10 billion yen to change Japan, and the game they're playing is one they must win.
The first Selasau to accomplish the mission will be deemed the victor and ultimately survive. Any remaining Selasau will be immediately terminated. There is absolutely no way around this.
Wait, are you serious? So just being picked is a death sentence?
Takizawa meets a young woman named Saki, who accompanies him back to Japan, where an incident involving missiles has killed several people. This appears to be a follow-up to a previous attack during an incident called Careless Monday, where amazingly nobody was hurt. And in the meantime, 20,000 NEETs remain missing in connection to the events. Takizawa and Saki are both pulled into the mystery of the Selasau and the mysterious phones, with the former determined to discover his own connection to the Careless Monday incident and how to prevent yet another attack. Fortunately, Saki is part of a college group, a small company called Eden of the East, who created a brilliant image identification system that crowdsources instantly. Through various incidents, the Eden program becomes useful in assisting the unlocking of mysteries just as much as the Selasau phone, and has a role in the resolution of the TV series.
We started out as a small-time recycling group focused on awareness, but thanks to the development of Eden, we soon realized that items that were seen as junk had real intrinsic value to some people. We owe everything to Saki for not only seeing the potential in the program, but for also getting the word out.
The Selasau come in variety, from the kind doctor who's remedying the rising need for elderly care, to the serial Johnny hunter striking out against the victimizers of women, the corrupt cop, the bitter freeder with a grudge against a society he feels cheated him, the idle rich, the ambitious bureaucrat, and some we never even get to know, kind of a ripoff. Then, of course, there's our Takizawa, a charming if impulsive fellow who makes friends easily through his earnest nature. Perhaps he's intended to represent Japanese youth that are frustrated, but not yet cynical.
In the end, does it matter who saves who? Let's make a difference. Moving forward, working together.
Each time the user of a Selasau phone orders something, the concierge Juiz recites the phrase noblesse oblige, a French term that means nobility obliges. In other words, those with privilege must conduct themselves a certain way, as it comes with responsibility. This means that the people with the phones are expected to use their power to help those without it, to change Japan for the better. However, noblesse oblige could also be used as a convenient justification for the privilege of the upper class and its rightness. Just look at this explanation from the movie Gundam F91.
You're saying that people aren't equal.
Their human rights are equal, but no two people are exactly the same. I believe that humankind and the world should be ruled by the highborn, by those who are not afraid to spill their blood in defense of an ideal, and who cherish honor.
I don't want to spoil too much of the TV series, because I think it's a worthwhile watch, but it's the main antagonists that actually plan to take the most extreme measures to change Japan for what they consider the best, leaving a question of whether or not those with the most power to change things are indeed the most responsible, or just the most dangerous in society at large. It seems like the show openly condemns any political or social upheaval as being evil ambition, but technocratic solutions based not on ideology but expertise are preferable. In other words, it's almost a cry for moderation as far as I'm concerned, which I think in some way undermines the more freewheeling nature of its main character. One of the other downsides of the series is that for all its talk about NEETs, it's quick to use them as a punchline rather than carefully examine the social conditions that gave rise to the phenomenon. I know it wants to say more about them, but it certainly doesn't do it in the TV show.
Hey, Johnnies! You may be wondering why I've gathered you here today. Well, believe me, it's for a good reason. I'm minutes away from launching yet another missile attack to kill each and every one of you.
The biggest flaw with the series is its lack of closure, as by the end there is so much unexplained and underutilized. The mystery behind Careless Monday has been resolved, but there is no winner to Mr. Outside's game, and it just kind of ends. And yes, I know it leads into the movies, which I'll cover eventually, and they have their own issues. But if you're just judging it as a series in itself, it ends very suddenly without even a temporary denouement. It's a little unsettling. Still, watching the mystery unfold, watching the questions that are answered be answered, and the holes filled in as the series progresses, is largely satisfying. Plus, those phones are awesome. What would you do with 10 billion yen? I'll have to review the movies at some point in the future, but for now, that's all I wanted to say about Eden of the East. It has a likable main character, is full of suspense, and even has some light comedic moments I enjoyed. Watch it. Next time on Otaku Evolution, an eerie Halloween selection. If you think you know violence, you don't know jack. Until then, see ya!